make this fun. Let's try to make this interactive. The purpose really for us is very simple. We want to look at people across the globe. I'm not talking about corporates, I'm not talking about educational institutes, I'm not talking about the city of Delhi or the state of Delhi, and not talking about this country. I'm talking about our purpose is to look at people across the globe, reduce 3 things and add 2. So what we have tried to do is we have tried to encompass the entire mental wellness space into 3 elements that we need to reduce and 2 elements that we need to increase. I would really appreciate if somebody can come up with any other element that we could be looking at. So let me first start off with what are those 3 elements. Number 1, stress. Specifically, when we look at people that have certain kind of roles, as deep and as complicated as architecture, where there is a lot of aesthetic sensibility versus a lot of logical explanations all the time, it becomes incredibly complicated. So stress. And of course, we live in the pressure of timelines, we live in the pressure of deliveries, and keep adding everything to it. Your personal life, your dating life, your spousal life, your parents, your children, depending on what stage of life you are in. So the number 1 aspect that we are looking at helping reduce is stress. The second element that we try to reduce is sadness. Okay, sorrow. The third element that we try to reduce is loneliness. Okay. Of course, I can't reduce loneliness by giving somebody company. Okay. And I can't really reduce sadness by giving somebody happiness. But we empower and try to work with people in looking at what are the various things that you go through in your life, and then give you tools and solutions that you could then take on as part of whatever you do, wherever you are. And we have seen the kind of things that we do have been very effective and have been very helpful. We'll talk more about that as we go along. Now, what are the 2 things that we look at generating? Simple, peace and happiness. If you take the entire mental wellness arena for yourself, what you are looking at reducing is very simply stress, loneliness, sadness. I can't come up with a 4th adjective. What you are looking at increasing is peace and happiness. That's it. It's purely, the entire world works around these elements. Now, there is one very important and interesting aspect of mental wellness that we always keep talking about. Number 1, it is always late to talk about your mental health. I don't care what you are doing, I don't care which role you are in, I don't care about, whatever your life is. It is always late to talk about your mental health. While that is true, there is another key truth in this. It is never too late. So it is always late, but it is never too late. So whoever you are, whichever role, whatever you do, okay, you are already late in beginning your journey, but the good thing is you are not too late. So begin it today, start looking at it now. What we have seen over our research and having done a lot of work in this arena, what we have seen is, assuming you are in a certain role and you want to increase your efficiency and productivity or something by X%, one approach is that you spend time learning that particular skill, and perhaps by spending X amount of time you will be able to increase your efficiency by a corresponding X%. What we have seen in all our research is spend the same X amount of time in working on your mental wellness, and you will actually end up increasing your efficiency and productivity in all areas by X%. So in one case, you could learn a specific skill, you could take a specific course, you could do something and improve your efficiency, your productivity by X% by spending some time. Spend the same amount of time on your mental wellness and you actually end up changing the entire paradigm and improving your efficiency and productivity across all areas by the same level. That's the power of conversation around mental wellness. All of us everyone in this room and everyone outside this room, okay, we all suffer from mental health issues. I am not talking about anybody in this room suffering from active depression or active anxiety or active mental health disorder. Some of us may actually be suffering from active depression, anxiety, or other disorders as well. Okay, our appreciation and understanding of depression actually comes from Bollywood, and I love talking about this. We think of mental health disorders as two elements. One, we think of mental health disorders as that mother in a Bollywood movie who keeps staring at the wall. You can say whatever, you can do whatever, you keep trying to push her, you keep trying to shake her memory, you keep trying to do everything, but she's just looking at the wall. She's just sad. The second way that we look at mental health issues in Bollywood is that side actor who tears his clothes apart and run on the road. Let me first of all break that notion. Neither of these is what happens in real life. What happens in real life is us. Genuinely, what happens in real life is us. One of us may not show up to office on Monday, and a couple of days you will realize they had an anxiety attack, or they are in depression, or they are suffering from some other mental health issue. It is, it for me is a much bigger pandemic than COVID could ever become. Okay? They said, if you look at COVID, they said if you kind of break down COVID into all elements, and you do no vaccination, you do nothing, COVID would end up impacting 10% of human population. Okay? It could be deadly for 10% of human population. Nature works in extremely efficient manners. There is a sequencing called as HLA sequencing, which essentially means a virus attacks people on certain HLA sequencing, and 10% and more than 10% people can't have the same HLA sequence. Means probably it's been created so that no virus can end up wiping us out. That, unfortunately, is not true for mental health. And that is why I keep saying it. Mental health is a much bigger problem. It's a much more complicated issue than COVID, or for that matter, any other disease, any other sickness could ever be. And we all go through different elements of it. We will talk about this as we move forward. Let me first ask, how many of us know of one person, just one person, who has some mental health issue and needs some support? How many of us know at least one person, just one person? That may be your colleague, that may be somebody in your home. Please don't include your spouses. Everybody's spouse needs mental health support. Keep that out. But we all know of one person, somebody in our family, somebody in our friends, somebody in our office, somebody somewhere else. So I see nearly 20% people raise their hands. Usually in such workshops, research says around 20-25% people engage. Rest, will spend the first 30 minutes looking at the speaker and evaluating, is he the right guy, does he know his shit, does he know what he's talking about? And then they will figure out in the last half an hour, last 45 minutes, they will start engaging. And there will be 30, 40, 50% people that still will be it's mental wellness. Are you kidding? What are people going to say tomorrow? Monday I have to come back to the same office. How can I even think about talking about my mental wellness? So, let's first start with that. So we asked, how many of you know of somebody that needs mental wellness support? And nearly 20-25% people raised their hands and said, yeah, we know of at least somebody that needs mental wellness support. Let me ask a slightly more deeper question. How many of you need mental wellness? I need it on an everyday basis. It doesn't mean I have to take a medicine. It doesn't mean I have a pharma neuro intervention. It doesn't mean I have to take therapy. It doesn't mean I have to do something. But I on a daily, daily will be actually me being too not right. I need my mental health support on probably an hourly basis. I need something to happen. Some trigger, where I can say, okay, I took care of sadness, loneliness, I took care of stress, and I generated some peace and some happiness. Okay? By the way, peace and happiness are the exact opposites of each other. I remember when I was in college, I was joking around with this guy, just being a smartass, really. And I told him, peace and happiness are the opposites of each other. He said, how? I said, hey, assume you are at home and you want to listen to music and your brother doesn't. So what will you do? I don't know. You will either have peace, which means you will not listen to music, or you will have happiness, which means you will listen to music. You can't do both. Okay? And simple, easy example, but that's really one of the key challenges that we all suffer with. At every moment, at every point of time, our challenge, our problem is not necessarily how we take care of sadness, how we take care of loneliness, how we take care of stress. Yeah, that is a problem. But really our challenge at every point of time in our lives is simply how do I create this balance between peace and happiness. And it's almost an unattainable balance. Okay? It's an unattainable balance more because we don't live alone. Or we are not used to being alone. We live in a society, in a community, with people around. Everybody has different requirements for peace and everybody has different definitions of happiness. And hence, the challenge. We keep on living our lives by trying to balance peace and happiness. Whether it is in our office, do I stay an extra hour, have some peace and not have my boss say anything? Or do I go out drinking today? Have happiness, not peace. Okay. And so on and so forth. You can add every complexity, every part of your life to this, and you will come back with the same answer on a moment by moment basis. You keep balancing peace and you keep balancing happiness on the other side. So let's start off with an activity. Can you pass? So what you do is, I'm sure all of you have played the game bingo. So what we will do is we will give you a mental health bingo to play. Okay. Just to get started, I understand it is extremely difficult for people to talk about their mental health. Okay. Our job really is to do 5 things. 5 key things that we want to achieve in the mental wellness space. Number 1, we want to remove stigma and taboo out of mental health. And when I say remove stigma and taboo, it is to make mental health talkable for everybody. Okay? For everybody. And next point, while it has started to become more acceptable, right? We all know somebody. I mean, even though whether we raise our hands or not, whether we accept right now standing or sitting here or not, we all know somebody who has mental health issues. In a lot of ways, research says 10 people in this room, okay, 25% people in this room will suffer from depression at some point in their life. Okay, and of course we'll talk more about depression because that's a very common phenomenon that we see specifically amongst working people, and it occurs in all various forms. And we'll talk about what does depression mean. But we all know people that require mental health support. So conversations have slightly been normalized just because there are so many people that need support, so many people that have challenges. So the second part that we want to look at is creating acceptance. Okay. So the first part is removing stigmas and taboos, which means it is acceptable and okay to talk. The second part, which I think is a huge problem, we have started living in a world where we are okay with other people talking about their mental health, but I and my kids, my parents, my spouse, of course, my relatives, my friends, I or my kids cannot have a mental health disorder, cannot have mental health issues. It is just not acceptable. So the second part of what we try to do is to help create that acceptance. Okay? Before we talk about the third, let me just stop, and why don't you guys, fill up the bingo, and we will have some interesting discussions about it. While you are filling it up, please fill up your name, your phone number, and your email ID. Circle or tick or whatever. It's your name, your phone number, your email ID. And we'll do some interesting stuff around it.
Can you give me?
So, what we try to do in this is we try to put together things that people do without even necessarily knowing or without even necessarily considering them as being part of their mental wellness. You do. Some of these really help. The one that helps the most out of these is the last row middle one. I'm sorry? The one that helps the most of people is last row middle one, but of course, everybody has a very different approach to how they look at their own mental health. So let me ask, anybody here who scored a perfect 100? Anybody here who had 25 plus? Scored 30, right? So between 20 and 25, of course, we already asked for it. 15 and more, 15 to 20, 10 to 15, and now other people are purely simply lying. Jokes apart. So, the challenge, as I was talking about, what do we look at doing? The first part is to remove stigma. The second part is to generate acceptance. Okay. The third part, which is really probably the most important arena in all this, is discovery. Why most of us do not come out and say we have mental health issues? Anyone? It's because of the society. Anyone else? We don't know about it many times. Who else? It is very no awareness about it. You were saying?
Then everyone consider like it's linked to every situation.
Then it's linked to every situation. Absolutely. Anyone else?
We have never thought about it.
We have never thought about it. Because of the fear of being judged, because of the fear of being, the information that we say, like he rightly said, it's spread around in every place then. तो पागल है तो इसीलिए ऐसा करता है. Or you are whatever, an anarchist or whatever adjective you give, which is why you act a certain way. Absolutely. Also, a lot of times issues being trivialized. So and when I go to schools, people appreciate this the most. It may be your first crush in life, which is a life and death issue for you, and somebody will come up and say, you will get over it. Yes, they will get over it. I'm not suggesting, they will actually die over it. They will get over it. That's not the answer that they are looking for at that point. Anyway, in my view, the number one reason why people do not talk about their mental health is discovery. Okay, I accept I have mental health issues. Now what? What do I do? Who do I go to? What is the solution? Is there something that really works? Will you be able to help me get better? If not, then why will you bring up the issue at all? Right? So, the most important, which is our third area of working, is discovery. What can you do about it? Number 4, our very sincere belief is that a lot of companies that are working in mental wellness arena in India, and they have mushroomed over the last 1.5 years. I'm surprised when I started working on mental wellness, there was selected band of us, and it looks like the day I started, somehow it got propagated in ether, and everybody started a mental wellness company. Here is the challenge. Most mental wellness organizations work on one simple model, which is find a doctor. Everybody's answer to mental wellness is straightforward: pharma neuro intervention, which is take a pill, or counseling, therapy, go to a psychologist. And by the way, there is a very genuine reason why most mental wellness organizations work this way. This is the only way to make money. If I don't give you medicine, and if I don't give you therapy, what will you pay me for? And if you don't pay me, what am I there in the business of? So, our sincere, we don't think pharma neuro or psychologist therapy is always the answer. I'm not suggesting it's not the answer. For many of us, it may be. When we get into very complicated scenarios, of course, pharma neuro is the only way to go about it. If there is a chemical imbalance, I don't care what I give you, but there is chemical imbalance. Unless you sort that out, you can't feel better, which means there is pharma neuro intervention. So we don't suggest and we don't come out and say pharma neuro intervention is bad. And neither am I saying therapies are bad. What I am telling you is, for a lot of us, we don't need them. We are not there yet. We may mature, grow, graduate. Of course, being facetious when I say this. But we only get there where we need therapy or where we need pharma neuro intervention. But we are not there yet. For us, it is a different set of tools and solutions that are required, which I will talk about. So, our fourth goal as Solh Wellness is to ensure we empower people with tools and solutions that go way beyond pharma neuro and that go beyond a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist intervention. Okay. Again, I'm being very clear. I'm not saying no to pharma neuro or no to therapy. That is a solution that is required in situations and that should be used in situations, not necessarily for everyone all the time. The fourth thing that we do is, the most interesting one for me. We all, okay, any of us, has two people in the family that think and do things the same way? Any of us have twin brother or sister? Anyone? Nobody? Even twins don't do that. We are somehow wired, okay, such that there are at least 8 billion and growing number of ways in which people can operate, in which people can think, doing various permutations and combinations. So, no two people have the same mental wellness required. No two people have the same mental wellness solution. So what we have tried to do and what we ask people to look at is mental wellness is not a linear problem. Anyone here? I mean, I'm sure many people did. Of course, people went through COVID. People have flus and other diseases all the time. They are all very linear. First day of COVID, do this. Fourth day of COVID, do this. 10th day of COVID, do this. 15th day of COVID, do this. If you still don't get better, if you have oxygen issue, whatever, do this. It's a fully prescribed path. You can't deviate from it. Right? You can't deviate. And then when you get over COVID, evaluate if you have any signs or anything around long COVID, keep getting your chest x-ray. It's very linear. It is laid out in front of you. Mental wellness doesn't work that way. As I said, there are at least 8 billion and growing every year permutations and combinations that exist. No two people are alike. Hence, the important aspect of mental wellness is to ensure there is a series of tools and solutions, and then you have the choice of customizing them for your own requirement. Will one of those tools or two of those tools be pharma, neuro and therapy? Absolutely. No doubt about it. But then, are there other tools, other solutions, other things that are doable that would help you? Absolutely. Depending on who you are, depending on what you do. For example, I can't talk. For the life of me, I can't talk to a therapist. It will not happen. I am just not the person who will get benefit from a therapy. I will be evaluating the heck out of the therapist, and I will be trying to see how can I figure out for the therapist to not know what I'm thinking. And I will, like I do for everything in my life, I will make a game out of it. Even if I will lose, it will still be a game. So, therapy doesn't know. Uphill? Yeah, easy. That's how I manage my diabetes. I don't diet. I pretty much will eat anything. Sweets are a top favorite for me, but I don't mind popping a couple of pills, maybe 3 pills in a day, heavy dosage, all that. I'm not suggesting anybody go that route, but that's where I'm one of the 8 billion permutations in that, and I manage my mental wellness my own way. So what we have done is we have put together this series of tools and solutions in one platform, and we give those to people and we walk them through what all can they do to manage their mental health. An extremely important part is we are free. Okay? I'm free for 3 reasons. Number 1, I think this is what is needed. Okay? This is what is needed. If I start charging people for this, people are not going to use it. See, the problem is, and it's more true in the developing world, but it's also a challenge in the developed world as well. But in the developing world, we do not go to get our teeth scaled, do we? We go for an RCT whenever we have a, pain in the tooth. Right? We do not go for any preventive mechanism. It doesn't work. We don't take insurance. Well, the younger generation is getting slightly better at it, but still, slightly better. Health insurance in our country still is 1.5 to 2%. maybe lesser. Number of people that have health insurance in our country is less than 2%. So we don't really work preventive. And paying for preventive, assuming we have fever and God forbid one of us goes to a doctor and the doctor says, it's okay, you don't need a medicine, go home. Will any of us pay the doctor? Anybody here who will pay the doctor for hearing you don't need a medicine? So we don't work in that manner. Not as a country, not as a culture, not as a philosophy. So what we have tried to do is we give you a set of tools and solutions free that you use as your companion for your mental health and for your well-being. So if I can request everyone to take out your mobile phones and I can walk you through what we do, how we do. If anyone doesn't like it, you can certainly delete it later on. I'm sure me a little bit and start looking at how various elements can be utilized. What are the various set of tools and solutions? So whether you are on Apple phone or whether you are on Android phone, go to your Play Store, Google Play Store or Apple App Store and search for Solh Wellness, S-O-L-H. For those that are wondering, it is not the wrong spelling of soul, it is the Arabic word that means peace. And as I said, in life, our challenge is not sadness, loneliness, stress or anything else. Our challenge is this balance between peace and happiness. Some of us get into a utopian world where our peace and our happiness kind of works together with each other. That is like finding the true utopian state. For most of us, we keep doing this zigzag, this balance. So, we called ourselves as Soul to talk about one of the most important aspects of life, which is peace. A reality of all of our lives, specifically for people that live in cities, specifically for working professionals like us, specifically for people, that are slightly younger, that have energy. The reality of our life is each one of us, in some way, shape or form, every once in a while, can generate happiness. Irrespective of, how sad, how bad, how stressful, how lonely, we still manage to, every once in a while, generate happiness. Peace is a different story altogether. Very few of us actually in our lives get an ability or a chance to generate peace. So that is why we call ourselves as Solh Wellness. So if you can look for Solh, S-O-L-H, and if you can download the application, I can provide you more information on how that can be your companion, be part of your mental wellness journey, and how that can help you on a day by day, week by week, minute by minute, hour by hour basis as you navigate through the pressures of whatever life throws at you. So I'm going to stop for a couple of minutes so you guys can download the app. It's not a big app, so it will get downloaded fairly easy. And then there are very quick steps for you to create a profile. Websites for architectural companies or architects, and 4 times I have failed. 4 times I have tried, and I'm supposed to be an expert at this. I have run a digital agency for almost 16 odd years now, so I'm supposed to be like a veteran in that. 4 times I have tried, and 4 times I have failed. It has never happened with me in any space. 4 times. They want the colors and the UI and the design to be their way, and it doesn't work on them. So, there is it's almost like I want to design my house like I design my websites, and you will tell me, but where are you going to put, your requirements. How will you take care? How will you create the right structure? Where will you put the door? Where will the windows go? Where will the decorations go? Where will, how will you put the false ceiling? Where will the wires go? Where will the plumbing go? Anyway, I just thought, let me share that. When I look at architects, I get a little scared, a little fearful from that experience. So people have been able to find the application, people have been able to download. Let's start. The number one aspect of what works for people in their mental wellness, for a reasonably good percentage of people, is journaling. So if you will go and look at the application, it will give you a capability for journaling. However, journaling comes with 3 caveats. Number 1, a lot of us in a lot of cases will be very uncomfortable with journaling because we are giving out our information. What we have done on the Solh platform is we have created a journaling capability giving you the option of full anonymity. Not anonymity, the option of full anonymity. So, whenever you are expressing yourself or doing anything on the application, you can do it as yourself or you can do it as an avatar in an anonymous mode. If you do in an anonymous mode, nobody would know it's you. So, what we have done, which has been appreciated by a lot of even the mental health professionals, okay, is the fact that journaling should be allowed in an anonymous mode. There are many aspects of your life that you may not want to talk about. Also, there may be many aspects of your life that are linked to other people that you don't want to reveal. Let me give you an example. I come from extremely humble background. So I started my life in a house, in a one room. I call it a house. In a one room with a bathroom shared with 3 families in Delhi. Now, all of us who have been in Delhi for long enough, we know this is not Delhi. In Mumbai, Chawl maybe, but this is not how Delhi works. But this is where I started my life. Now, I may be comfortable talking about it, but my 2 sisters who are now married, who have a certain life of their own, who have children of their own, and my children for that matter, will they be comfortable with me sharing this? I don't know, I never asked. So, what we have done is we provide capability of expressing yourself in an anonymous manner. In everything that you will look at from a psychiatry, psychology standpoint, being able to express yourself is a reasonable part of battle 1 for a lot of people. Again, I'm one of those weird ones, just like therapy, journaling just doesn't work. But a lot of people find it very therapeutic, a lot of people find it very beneficial. In fact, I was recently talking to people who organize the New Delhi World Book Fair, which is interestingly going to start next week. And I told them you should have a mental health arena within the book fair. And the director at National Book Trust looked at me and said, I'm doing a book fair. What do I have to do with mental wellness? And I said, sir, absolutely right. Take academics aside. Okay? Most authorship and most readership is not done for wisdom. It is done for mental health. So think about it. Most authorship and most reading is done for the purposes of mental health. In a lot of ways, that is journaling. So number 1 thing that we do in journaling, and when you will look at the application, the second tab, as you scroll down, is the area of journaling. Ability for you to be able to express yourself in a true manner, in who you are, in what you are, in what you have faced, in what problems you are going through. Number 1, you express yourself means there is a burden lifted off of you. Number 2, you express yourself, which means other people are able to look at it, comment, generate some conversations with you, or you end up reading somebody else's account. And this feeling of, in mental health, this feeling of what is going on with me is not just going on with me. It is going on with so many people. It's such a relief. I mean, we are such sadists at that. We just can't suffer alone. It's such a good feeling. It may not be true when we are happy. We should be the only one having that. But in case of sorrows, that's what we look out for. Is there other people that are facing that? No, it's okay. 10 people are suffering. I'm happy. Anyway. So that's the first part. We give you the anonymity, ability to be able to go there, express yourself, do that engagement. Number 2, we also give the option of my diary. There may be stuff, anonymous or not, that you just don't want to put out. So you have the option of keeping all that in my diary as a personal journal. The reason you want to put it on the Solh platform versus other places is because it becomes the repository from where you can pick it up and share if and when you are comfortable or you want to. Sometimes people do that when they have developing stories. So you have something going on, it just hasn't seen the climax. So you keep adding, writing in your personal diary, my diary, don't share it, and then there is a point of time when you know there is a finale to it and then you may choose to share it. Number 3, and perhaps the most important. Now, you must be wondering, this is what Insta and Facebook and any other social media platform does. Right? Yeah, you're probably right. From a functionality perspective, you're probably right. However, the difference is, in most social media platforms, we all go because we want to see and put images of clothes that we don't wear, people that we don't meet, food that we don't eat, places that we don't travel to. Basically, the life that we don't have. In Solh Wellness, we have created it as a committed mental health space. And since you guys are.
And that person is behaving in a certain manner every time. And okay, that person might be doing something. But then how do you react to that person? Your first reaction will be of being annoyed.
Yeah, that's the wrong reaction to that.
So what should be your?
So, the first reaction is to know he's not alone.
Like you feel what he is feeling, not totally feeling, but kind of sympathy.
Know that person is not alone. Irrespective of what absurdity you see around in the other person, I can almost promise you, you have the same absurdity at some point of time with some person. The first thing is know that person is not alone. It's just something that is happening or that the person is going through. I remember one of my cousins was in depression. This is almost maybe 5 years back. He was in depression, his wife called me up, I was there with him for 3 days trying to help him, trying to cheer him up and blah blah blah. I was 40 years at that point of time. He's a year older than me. Okay. I was trying to cheer him up, and of course he was in depression, he couldn't get out of his sorrow. Okay. He got up and gave me this tight slap on my face. Just got up and he gave me this tight slap on my face. I was there was swelling and I can't bring tears out, so of course no tears came out. I don't have tear glands, probably. But it hurt, really hurt. The first thing for me to do was to walk out. So what I did was, first thing, I looked away from him. And then I looked back at him and tried to be normal. That person got out of depression, is actually doing wonderfully well now. But the first thing that you do is know that person is not alone. I mean, empathy and sympathy and everything will come much later. First thing, not alone. Even if that person is driving you bonkers, not alone. You go through the same exact environment, same exact emotion, and same exact expression at some point yourself. And then, I'm sorry?
No, you cannot compare, you cannot say this.
We all do.
No, we all do. No.
So you don't make anybody angry? You don't drive anybody bonkers?
I do. I'm not saying that. I'm saying कि अगर किसी का कोई state of mind है, तो पहला reaction आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि वो जो तुम्हारे साथ हो रहा है कभी-कभी
सबके साथ होता है। सबके साथ होता है। Then you be there for support. See, one thing is that you can't do in mental health is you can't force fit yourself as support. Which is, a very interesting part of how mental wellness is different than other diseases. You can't force fit yourself on somebody. The second thing that you would do then is just be available for support. Let the other person know you are there for support and try to work out and take care of whatever support that person requires. Can't force it. You can't say you are suffering from something and let me take you to a doctor. You can't say you are suffering from something, you need to see a therapist. In extreme mental health, and I think I understand why you have that reaction. In case of mental disorders, if somebody has schizophrenia, if somebody has dementia, if somebody has, bipolar or some other diseases, gets extremely violent and aggressive, or something else, then then there is time, it is time. It's either pharma intervention or a psychologist, some therapy. In that case, maybe you need to, at times, be forceful. Push that person into that. But we are talking about preventive mental health. We are talking about people like us. We are talking about everyday life. In that, in any behavior, number one, know everybody goes through. Number two, be there for support. I can then go on and say, don't judge them, be empathetic, be this. It's there, but that's the next phase. In disorders, the person needs support. So, other questions?
How do you convey this to a person when you see that person behaving absurdly?
So, unless you think that person has extreme disorder that needs immediate intervention, in which case you set up an intervention, in however it is feasible. Just be available, just be there for the person.
Not like a disorder, like I see a person not being happy, trying to isolate himself. How do you tell them that this is not obligated? Need to.
Don't tell. Show. The challenge is we tell. Don't tell. Show. Be there. Okay. The expression of you being there. Trust. We all know how to show that, and trust. We all know how to feel that. You can't tell. Telling is fixing. Nobody needs fixing. And sometimes a person will keep on suffering, keep on going through something, and you are there for support. And day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. At some point of time, that person will know you are there for support and will reach out. Just be there. Especially when it's your friends, especially when it's your colleagues, especially when it's your family. Be there. Don't tell. Tell him. Normally doesn't work. Show. Who else? And I get all of this is extremely hard, which is why, we started this. Any other questions? Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you so much. You guys have been a wonderful audience. I hope a lot of you will start caring about, will start thinking about, will actually in your own groups, in your own work, in your own lives, be more sensitive. First for yourself and second for others. One thing that I must mention, one challenge in mental health, just like a challenge with COVID, It doesn't happen to an individual. If somebody is unhappy, if somebody is stressed out, if somebody has a problem,